Friends, 615 days of war. Starting from the southern war zone, in Kherson side, Ukrainians are holding Krinky with help of artillery coverage. It has managed to bring more reinforcements through Frolov Island and expand its bridgehead here. Towards Antonovsky railway bridge, Ukrainians established another bridgehead, closing in on Poima. However, no gains despite its attempt towards Peshanivka. On Zaporizhia front, Orikho sector, Ukrainians succeeded in regrouping after many unsuccessful attempts due heavy shelling by the Russians. They have brought fresh reinforcements on Orikho sector towards Kopani, Rabotino, Verbov line. It is expected that fresh attempts will be made by the Ukrainians on northwest Verbov as well as towards northwest of Novopokropivka. In the meantime, ISW reports that Ukrainians made some gains towards west of Rabotino. In Rimivki salient, bitter fight is continuing for Balka Rusheva in northeast Pryutne. In north towards Kupiansk, Swatovo direction, Ukrainians launched more than half a dozen of attacks but no success. Russian army offensive continues towards Sinkovka, Kislovka, Makovka. Towards Liman direction, Ukrainians carried out two attacks near Grigorovka as well as Kryrovo in DPR region. No success. In Serebryansky forestry, Ukrainians are continuing offensive where it has managed some gains. In the meantime, Russians advanced towards Torsky. In east, Russians attacked Ukrainian positions at Marinka, Avdiivka, Klishivka. Fresh battles are on at the railways towards Klishivka, Avdiivka line. On Avdiivka front, in northern flank, Russian army made some gains in northeast of coke plant. In southern direction, Russians are building offensive from Donetsk ring road as well as from Opitne forest plantations. As per ISW, Russians have made gains in Avdiivka, and there are also information that Russians occupied a village known as Novoselivka Druha, 5 km northeast of Avdiivka. In Bakhmut, in northern flank, Ukrainians made some gains towards southwest of Dubovo-Vasilivka. In south, Ukrainians are advancing north of Klishivka and south of Avdiivka along railway line. However, the ping-pong continues. Ukrainians have resumed missile attacks. They launched more than 8 of them on Crimea from 2 different directions. These missiles, most of them, were intercepted by the Russian air defense. Nonetheless, one of them was able to hit the target, causing damages. Incidentally, as per the report, this peninsula is under continuous surveillance by the Western satellites in last 3 to 4 days. Russian Navy claims to have destroyed 2 Ukrainian unmanned boats near Cape Tarkhankut, where ATACMS missiles with cluster munitions had hit earlier. Ukrainians are continuously shelling parts of Belgorod, while Russian army launched missiles at Odisha shipyard and airports. Now both the armies are preparing for winter campaign. Ukrainians' aim seems to be vacillating, especially after their failed counterattacks, which is 4 to 5 months old now. While the Russian army is focusing on war attrition and keeping initiative on almost all the battle lines. A brief on Palestine Israel Front. Washington Post says that Gaza's child death has risen more than 3,300, while the total death toll has crossed 8,300. Though Israel officially has postponed its large-scale offensive in Gaza, nonetheless it is continuing from almost all the sides, moving its armors deeper inside Gaza Strip. In the meantime, 10 UN employees were killed in last 3 to 4 days due Israeli bombing in Gaza Strip. Russian Defense Minister Shoigu has claimed that Ukrainians' losses during counter-offensive has crossed 90,000 troops, 600 tanks and 1,900 different armored vehicles. Former US President Reagan's special assistant Bandau has said, over past 2 decades, USA caused more chaos, death and destruction than China, Iran, Russia and North Korea combined. Overall, what we see in the Ukrainian war is that Russians are continuously, since the beginning of the war, trying to so-called demilitarize Ukrainians' armed forces. To some extent, they are successful also, as we have been watching. Nonetheless, they are being reinforced quite heavily from American as well as NATO and other allied forces as far as arms, ammunitions and other war machineries, equipment are concerned. However, the manpower is limited, even though various forms of mercenaries are working inside Ukraine from their sides, and that includes even NATO troops hidden. Now only time will tell. Winter has started. Winter operations may start in a week or two. Probably it will further slow down all the war activities. As far as Ukrainians are concerned, under the guidance of American, British and NATO intelligence and instructions, they are launching as many missiles, UAVs and artillery as much possible deep and deeper inside Russian territories, trying to cause equally war attrition to them as well, demoralize Russian people as well as army. But only time will tell what is going to happen. And in the meantime, another front which has started in Israel and Palestinian side, the effect is still not largely seen. Though Zelensky has said, or rather on his behalf, the Western media has said that he is feeling offended and neglected. Well, that is not important. Important is that war industry, how does it look, the present and the future. That's all. Thank you.